I was sitting at my kitchen counter, smoothing out the wrinkles in my silk blouse with one hand while scrolling through my emails with the other, when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from Facebook. Congratulations to Emily and Jake on their 5th wedding anniversary. Emily. My sister. I stared at the photo for a long second. Emily and Jake on a beach somewhere, her white dress billowing in the wind, his arms wrapped around her. They looked happy. Perfect. Like that day never broke me. Across the room, my 15-year-old daughter, Lily, was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, painting her nails a pale lavender. Her hair, chestnut brown, just like mine, fell over her shoulder as she focused, completely unaware of the storm swirling in my chest. That wedding. The fight. The words I still hear at night sometimes. You can come, Emily had told me over the phone 5 years ago. But Lily can't. She's too young, it's adults only. At the time, I had nodded silently, trying to keep my voice steady. I told myself it was just one day. But Lily had overheard. I'll never forget the look on her little face. Confusion, hurt, a kind of quiet rejection that no child should ever feel. I closed the app and took a slow breath. Not today. Today, I wouldn't cry. Today, I would remember what I did next, and why I'd never apologize for it. 5 years ago, I was standing in my tiny apartment kitchen, my phone pressed to my ear, listening to Emily explain why my daughter wasn't welcome at her wedding. It's nothing personal, Sarah, she said, her tone soft but firm. It's just we want a classy event. No kids running around screaming during the vows. I remember gripping the edge of the counter, so hard my knuckles turned white. She's not kids, I said quietly. She's my daughter. She'll be 10 by then, and she's well behaved. You know that. There was a pause, then a sigh. It's not up for debate, Emily said. Either come alone, or don't come at all. That was the moment my throat closed up, my eyes burning. I could feel my pulse in my ears. I wanted to argue, to beg, but something inside me just snapped. When I hung up, I turned and saw Lily standing in the hallway, clutching the bracelet my grandmother had given her for her last birthday, a delicate silver chain with a tiny heart charm. Her cheeks were wet. Why doesn't Aunt Emily want me there? She asked in a small voice. I knelt down, pulling her into my arms. Sweetheart, it's not you, I whispered, even though it felt like a lie. Sometimes people make choices we don't understand. That night, after I tucked her in, I sat at the table staring at that bracelet. I remembered what Grandma used to say when life knocked her down. Hold your head high, Sarah. Dignity is a crown no one can take from you, unless you hand it over. I wiped my tears and made a decision. I wouldn't go to the wedding. Not if my daughter wasn't welcome. The next morning, I texted Emily. Lily is part of me. If she can't come, neither can I. I wish you a beautiful wedding day. Her reply was short, almost cold. Suit yourself. I turned off my phone, packed Lily's lunch for school, and promised myself something. Never again would I allow anyone, family or not, to make my daughter feel small. That moment became my line in the sand. And crossing it changed everything. That decision lit a fire under me I didn't even know I had. Back then, I was barely making ends meet, working part-time as a receptionist at a dental clinic, clipping coupons, and praying every month that my rent check wouldn't bounce. But something about Emily's words, about Lily's face that night, pushed me past my breaking point. I started small. I dusted off my laptop after Lily went to bed and signed up for an online bookkeeping course. I'd always been good with numbers, but I never thought I could turn it into something that mattered. Every night after work, I sat at the kitchen table, coffee mug in one hand, pen in the other, scribbling notes until my eyes blurred. Some nights, I wanted to give up. The exhaustion was brutal, juggling work, school runs, and endless dishes. But Lily became my little cheerleader. She would sit beside me, doing her homework while I studied. You got this, Mom, she'd say, her little legs swinging under the chair. A few months later, I met someone who would change everything, Maria Torres, a no-nonsense accountant who came into the clinic one day. We got to talking, and when I mentioned I was taking bookkeeping classes, her eyes lit up. You're smart to do that, she said. If you stick with it, You can work for yourself. People will always need someone to keep their finances straight. She became my unofficial mentor. She let me shadow her on weekends, teaching me about client management, taxes, and how to actually make money doing what I was learning. The first time I landed a client, a local cafe owner who needed help sorting out his books, I nearly cried when I deposited that check. It wasn't much, but it was mine. One client turned into three into 10. Within a year, I had enough work to quit my receptionist job. I bought a second-hand desk, turned the corner of our living room into a tiny office, and called my business ClearPath Accounting. Money was still tight at first, but we were moving forward. I surprised Lily with a weekend trip to the lake for her 11th birthday. It was the first time I'd ever been able to afford something like that. I kept my progress quiet, posting only the occasional vague update on social media, nothing that would hint at the real growth happening behind the scenes. I didn't need validation. I didn't want pity. I wanted to build something solid, just for us. And slowly we did. It happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon, almost exactly 5 years after that wedding. I was in my office, a real office now, not the corner of my living room. The glass windows overlooked downtown, the walls lined with framed photos of Lily at her milestones. First dance recital, middle school graduation, her braces-free smile. My favorite piece was the silver bracelet from Grandma, sitting in a shadow box on the shelf. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. The caller ID made my stomach tighten.
Emily.
For a moment, I just stared at the screen. Then I answered. Sarah, she said, her voice unusually small. I need your help. She explained that she and Jake were in the middle of buying a house, their dream home. But there had been a mistake with their taxes. The deal was falling apart unless they could get everything sorted quickly. I remembered you do accounting or something, she said. Could you maybe look at it? Part of me wanted to laugh at the understatement, accounting or something, but instead I said, come by my office tomorrow. Bring everything. When Emily and Jake walked in the next day, they stopped short. The office was warm and modern, soft gray walls, sleek furniture, a coffee machine humming quietly in the corner. A plaque with ClearPath Accounting, founder and CEO, Sarah Mitchell hung proudly behind my desk. Emily blinked. This is yours? Yes, I said simply, motioning for them to sit. I let them absorb the space, the glass awards on the credenza, the photo of me shaking hands with the mayor at a small business award ceremony. Then I calmly opened the folder they brought and got to work. It took me less than half an hour to spot the problem and fix it. Years ago, I would have been nervous, second-guessing myself. But now I was in my element, confident. When I handed the corrected documents back, Jake let out a low whistle. You just saved us, he said. Emily was still quiet, her eyes scanning the office. I had no idea you'd build all this, she said softly. I smiled, not unkindly. A lot can happen in 5 years. Her cheeks flushed, and I could almost see the memory cross her face. That phone call, the choice she gave me. I'm sorry, she said finally. About everything. About Lily. I was so focused on having my perfect wedding that I didn't think about what I was doing to you. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers resting on the armrest. I could have stayed angry. I could have thrown those words back at her. But I didn't. Instead, I said, what mattered most to me was making sure Lily never felt unwanted again. And I think I've done that. Emily nodded, her eyes glistening. For the first time in years, I saw something like respect in them. I stood up and walked to the shelf, running my fingers lightly over the shadow box with Grandma's bracelet. Then I turned back to Emily and Jake. You asked for my help, I said, my voice calm but steady. I've given it. Your house deal will go through, and you'll get your dream home. But before we walk out of this office, I need to say something. Emily's shoulders tensed, like she already knew what was coming. That day, the day you told me Lily wasn't welcome, it broke something in me, I said. Not because I missed your wedding, but because I had to look into my daughter's eyes and explain why her own family didn't want her there. I swore I'd never put her in that position again. Jake shifted uncomfortably, but I kept my focus on my sister. If we're going to rebuild this relationship, things have to change. That means Lily is not an afterthought. She is family. If you want us at birthdays, holidays, barbecues, she is invited. No exceptions. Emily nodded quickly. Of course, she whispered. And more than that, I added, softening my tone. I want you to get to know her. Really know her. She's smart and funny and loves astronomy. She deserves to be celebrated, not excluded. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. I want that too, she said. I do. I gave her a small smile. Then we can move forward. But those are my terms. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Jake spoke. You're right, he said simply. We should have done better. We will now. It wasn't a groveling apology, but it was honest, and that was enough. When they left, Emily hugged me tightly, something she hadn't done in years. Thank you, she said. Not just for today, for giving me another chance. I closed the office door behind them, letting out a long, slow breath. For the first time, I felt like the power imbalance between us, the one that had existed since childhood, had finally leveled out. I wasn't just Emily's little sister anymore. I was my own woman. That evening, Lily and I curled up on the couch with hot chocolate, the rain still tapping against the windows. How was work today? She asked, scrolling lazily through her phone. I smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Productive. And I saw your Aunt Emily. Lily's eyebrows lifted. Really? How was that? I hesitated, then told her the truth. About the meeting, about fixing Emily's tax mess, about the conversation afterward. Lily listened quietly, her mug cradled in both hands. So, does this mean we'll see them more? She asked carefully. Yes, I said. But only if it feels right for you. I told them things have to be different this time. They promised they would be. She nodded slowly, considering. I think I'd like that, she said finally. I mean, it kind of hurt, what they did. But maybe they've changed. I reached over and squeezed her hand. You're stronger than I ever was at your age, you know that?
She grinned.
That's because I have you. Something in my chest loosened at that, a tension I hadn't realized I was still carrying. I got up, walked to my dresser, and opened the little box where I kept Grandma's bracelet. Here, I said, fastening it gently around Lily's wrist. Grandma gave this to me when I needed courage. Now I think you're ready for it. Lily held out her arm, admiring how the tiny charm caught the light. It's perfect, she said softly. I sat back, watching her smile, feeling the quiet power of the moment settle over us. For years, I had let that wedding day define me. But now, sitting there with my daughter, strong, happy, unshakable, I realized it had been the beginning, not the end. And as I sipped my cocoa, I thought, this is what dignity looks like. This is what winning feels like. They once told me my daughter was too young to belong. But today, she's the reason I built a world where we both do.